Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Mike Jones. He's a film critic, and today we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about films. We're going to particularly talk about blacks in Hollywood.
Okay.
Welcome, Mike.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so glad to have you here. You're usually not in the area. You're in town for some work, and you and I are longtime friends.
Yes.
And it is my pleasure to have you here, a professional, to talk about black films. We just got done with the Oscars.
Right, right.
And things have really changed over this last year. A year ago, we were complaining about how Hollywood didn't have any black films that they were considering, and you had these judges who weren't giving us a chance. A year later, we have some great black films. Some producers really stepped up to the plate and created some great movies.
Correct. I would say that while this year we did have a substantial amount of black cinema, I think it's always been there. It's just been a matter of who's promoting it, who's marketing it. We have seen in recent modern times, we've seen Denzel, we've seen Halle win Oscars. Not to say that that is a full representation, but I think black cinema's always been there. It's just, and this goes, I don't want to go into my thing, but it's about us recognizing our own industry in this country, building our own infrastructure. Because the filmmakers are there. It's that, are we going to continue to rely on Oscar to recognize us? Because every now and then they will, and this year they did. But we have to overcome that hurdle, I think.
Also, it's really been good to see those old faces, but these new faces as well.
Yes.
Mahershala Ali.
Yes. That's my man right there.
Yeah, you're seeing these new actors coming into their own, and that was really the joy of watching the Academy Awards.
I think there's nothing better than seeing new talent. And what's funny is, as all things go, in our community, we're like, oh, I knew him from, I've known his work all the time. You all are just seeing it. I knew I struggle with the brother's name. Mahershala Ali. I don't know if people know, but he was in, last year he was in the new Marvel series on Netflix. Netflix is killing it. He played not Cottonmouth, he played the other, the Harlem gang leader in Luke Cage. So he's been doing his thing. Yeah, he's been doing his thing for a little bit, but I tip my hat to him. I mean, he's been in the game a long time. He's been noticed for the last couple of years, and the brother's got an Oscar, so.
Do you see the same thing happening in TV? As far as these series that you were just mentioning, do you see more African Americans coming into their own through Netflix programs, through HBO, through these different programs?
I don't know if I see it any more or less. I just see it as more opportunity, particularly when you're talking about platforms like Netflix, even YouTube. You look at your girl, Issa Rae. She's killing it on HBO. Again, I don't know if there's any more of us on TV, but I think the opportunity is there. I think one thing we need to do is maybe not focus so much on the networks and cable outlets. I mean, we have this new frontier. It's not that new anymore, but of the internet. Like I said, Netflix, YouTube, and some deals are being struck off of these more independent platforms. So I think that's where maybe the new breed of talent needs to be fomented, and then maybe they can make the leap to film and TV.
Did you ever think 20, 30 years ago that we would see YouTube stars? I mean, it's like you said, this whole avenue, this whole world, this whole new world has opened up to us.
20, 30 years ago, I don't remember I don't even remember where I was, but I do know I was a slow adopter. I mean, I used computers in my career, but I was a slow adopter to the online platforms, and it blew up. Like I said, I think this is, no matter where we were 20, 30 years ago, I think now is the time that we need to forge our own destiny and stop thinking so much about landing on the big screen right away, and maybe take a step back, say, okay, if Issa can do it, if this person can do it. There was another program, I can't remember the name of it, please forgive me, but these guys were doing it. It can be done through not the traditional method. There are other gateways that we can explore to get into the mainstream.
Well, let's talk about some individual films right now.
Sure.
Let's talk about Moonlight.
Okay, all right.
Of course, it won the big one.
It won the, yeah, it was a little touch and go there.
Yeah, but it ended up where it won the big award.
Yes, yes.
What did you think of the movie? Now, I can start off by saying I am extremely happy that the movie won.
Correct.
But there were some gaps in the film, some things that I didn't understand why certain things were done a certain way. For example, you've got this great character in Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
This strong character. He's in it for 20 minutes, if 20 minutes. And I missed him. It's like, where did he go? This great guy, this great, a layered character. Where did he go?
Let me just say that. Now, you say he was in it for 20 minutes, and statistically, that's true. But given his performance, and he did win Best Supporting Actor.
He sure did.
Did it feel like to you he was in it for 20 minutes?
Well, his spirit was in the movie the entire movie.
Yeah.
Or his essence.
I mean, when you put it that way, he was only in it for 20 minutes. I have to step back and say, man, you're right. And I don't know if that's a testament to the powerful performance he gave. It feels like he was throughout that movie. Now, the movie is broken up into 3 segments, as we know. We have the child, the young adult, and then we have the fully grown adult. But I tell you what, his performance was so strong in that film, it doesn't feel like he was in, it feels like he was in it much longer.
Also, I haven't seen very many films tackle the LGBT experience in urban life.
It's kind of a touchy subject, yes.
It is, especially amongst African Americans.
Right.
What did you feel about the fact that that film explored something that really hadn't been explored in that way in black
What
cinema?
did I feel about it? You know, I look at it like the brother who directed that film, his name escapes me now, but that was the story he wanted to tell. And so no matter how I felt about it, I went into the theater, I paid my money, and I said, I'm going to submit to this director's story. So I felt, I'm like, if that's the story you want to tell, hats off to you. Doesn't matter how I feel about it, doesn't matter my position. I am pro-LGBT, by the way, but it doesn't matter what my feelings are. I wanted to experience this man's story, what he wanted to tell. I'm a creative person, you're a creative person, and I just wanted to give him that respect for hour and 45 minutes, however long the film ran.
Did you feel that there were some gaps? I wanted to know what happened to him. I wanted to know what happened after he had that episode at school, when he went away and had to pay for what he did. What happened to, what experience did he have? We saw the result of the experience, but we didn't get to see what actually happened. And was that done on purpose?
I think one of the brilliant things about this film is that, much like in our own lives, like you and I are friends off set. We've been friends, I've been friends with your husband, we grew up together. That doesn't mean that your husband and I, or you and I, have been in each other's lives every step of the way, particularly as we became adults. I feel like that the things that were left out, it was kind of inconsequential because that's how life is. I don't need to know all of the gaps in between this man's life. I just need to know what were the major influences in his life. And I think in the beginning, when we see Mahershala Ali with the young child, then in the middle section when we see the young adult, what he has to deal with in school, and that whole kind of trap about getting caught in with the wrong element, and then moving to him as an adult. That's how life is. You see pieces of, even though you could have the most deep relationships, but unless you're together as a couple, you're only going to see pieces of a person's life. I only know pieces of your life. I only know pieces of your husband's life. And I think that played into seeing this child grow into a man. Now, where I did have a problem with the film and where it disappointed me was that at the end, I thought the resolution was very lazy. It does not really resolve anything. And that's why I had the question about this young man. We see him in the life that we thought he was going to kind of be able to avoid, or hopefully avoid. He did not. And then, I don't want to spoil it for the audience, but they just left it kind of like hanging. And I thought that was kind of a lazy choice. So that was where I had a problem with wanting to know what the gaps were.
I thought it left him acknowledging his truth and getting ready to live that truth, the truth that he is gay.
Well, I have a controversial opinion on that. Obviously, I think that's where the filmmaker wanted you to go with it. As I'm watching this film and seeing this child who had he had the drug dealer character in his life, not truly a father though, not the strongest father figure, the only father figure by default, not the strongest. So he didn't really have strong father figures in his life to direct him on the right way. As a matter of fact, in that scene, the young child walks out on the man, which to me is thematic of, this guy is not your father figure either. He may pretend to be, but he's not. So my point being, he didn't have any strong male influences in his life. His mother was strung out. He was one step away from sleeping on the streets. He has this experience with a friend, a male friend, who gives him pleasure. And if you're living like that, if you're living from hand to mouth, and someone comes along and gives you any sort of stimulus that's pleasurable or enjoyable, one might think, this is what I am. I contend that I don't know if he was truly homosexual. Maybe by default, because that's all he had given to him. And people are going to probably clown me for that. I do my own show, and my brothers clown me on that too. But it's that whole theory about that's all he was shown. So that might be all he knows. That doesn't necessarily mean, in my mind, that he's necessarily homosexual.
Well, for me, I think they established from the very beginning that he was.
How so?
From the fact that he was the odd man out, that he was being bullied, he was being chased. That's how he got involved with Mahershala to begin with. And he's confused, he's wondering, who and what am I? I think what the producers were doing, they were trying to establish that that's what he was.
I hear what you're saying. I just tend to think that if that is the standard by which one is judged to be homosexual, then we have a lot of homosexual people. A lot of people have been bullied, chased, and thrown about as children. I just saw that as he was just small, scared, didn't know who to turn to, and kids can be pretty rough.
Oh, absolutely.
Now there's one scene in the film where he enters a bathroom. I think it's a public bathroom. And people want to tell me, oh, well, they were doing something that would indicate that they were all gay. I just think that that's just exploration that might be normal in an adolescent child who doesn't know what certain parts of his body are meant for. They're starting to blossom. They're just curious.
Yeah.
So, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right.
Oh, no. And before, I'm glad we touched on this movie, but I want to move on to Fences.
Please do that. Because, no, not for that reason. I'll talk about this only because that was my picture that I wanted to be. I wanted that to be Best Picture.
Me too. In that movie, I saw the characters I saw in Denzel, in his buddy in his wife, those are the characters that I grew up with.
Wow.
Those were my father's friends. Those men, how they acted, how they worked hard, how they partied hard, how they were flawed men, but they were men in a time when African American men were not treated as equals.
Right. Right.
And you see how he never got to live his dream. She never got to live her dream. I mean, it was that, to me, that's the best movie I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, that character, very conflicted character. You just made the point that he didn't get to live his dreams. I think the screenplay, the brilliant screenplay by August Wilson. I don't know what Mr. Wilson was trying to convey, but it seemed there were parts of it that made me feel like he didn't get to live his dreams, partly because of his own issues. It was all about what they did to me, not about what I can do for myself. If you notice in the film, he's always talking about they wouldn't allow me to do this, they wouldn't allow me to do that. And he visits those issues on his son, and we see how that turned around. It was a fascinating character. I'm just gonna say, Denzel is my dude. Anything he's gonna be in, I'm gonna go see. He directed this. I thought it was brilliantly directed. As much as I love Hidden Figures, because I tend to compare those two together, I don't know why. I thought it was far better directed than Hidden Figures, even, because it did not require that much direction. It was a theater piece to begin with, and it comes across the screen as a theater piece. I'm in the audience, and I'm just watching a tableau on screen.
Viola Davis also played an excellent role. She was absolutely a woman of her time. And I just felt her pain. And the way she was able to reveal that pain was just brilliant to me.
Didn't you just want her to go upside his head, though?
I did.
At some point.
But like I said, she was a woman of her time. You know, you stand back then, as my mother did, and as so many of my friends' mothers, they stood by their men, even though the men were very flawed characters. That's what they felt they were supposed to do.
And let's be clear, all of the men in this film are not flawed. His friend, the heavyset fellow,
Yes.
you know, stand-up dude. Even the son, his older son, to a certain degree, he was always coming home asking for money. But that's what a parent. I don't want to say a parent needs to enable his or her child, but it's clear that he wasn't getting what he needed as a child.
No, and that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Is he wasn't? He almost treated that son, the oldest one, as if he was second rate.
Well, he treated both of them like I think they were second rate. But
Yeah. And maybe because he was treated that way.
Exactly. He says that. They didn't give me anything. They're not going to give you anything. You need to go put the sports down, put down that football, and go get you a job at the post office or wherever.
And that used to be the saying, too.
Right.
Like I said, so many of those characters are the characters, my father's friends. Just the way they express themselves, the language, the clothing. I mean, I felt like I was there, in which a good film makes you feel. I felt like I was there. It made me smile. It brought back so many memories. What a brilliant, brilliant film.
Denzel did his thing. I think that's his second film. I don't think he's done anything else other than Antoine Fisher, which I thought was great as well.
I love that film.
And this one. Now, he has said, I don't know why he said this. He was asked, are you going to direct again? He said, probably not, because I got bills to pay. I'm like, you're Denzel.
Yeah, really, what you been doing with your money?
You've been character acting too long. What's method acting?
Yes, exactly. Well, let's move on to some films that are in the theaters right now. The new horror film, which is a genre that we usually don't.
Last long in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Usually after about the first 10 minutes.
Right. And I think
we've
we're
been
getting back to that
maimed.
too. I think it's coming back. It's coming back around to that too.
Well, let's talk about it's the one of the characters from Key and Peele.
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele has this new film out, so
Yes.
tell me about it.
Well, I just saw it recently. It's called Get Out, and boy, them trailers, the trailers had me hyped to see this movie. On the face of it, it looks like a movie that involves an interracial relationship and one black man's revenge against the power structure. Long and short of it, without spoiling it, is this young brother is in love with this Caucasian woman, and it's like meet the parents. They go into the woods, brother. You black men, just don't go in the woods, okay? Stay out the woods. Protect. Now I'm not gonna go. Don't be like OJ. Just okay. Let me leave that alone.
Yeah.
And the woman takes the young man to meet her parents, and all kinds of things ensue after that.
What you sound like you're disappointed in it.
I'll put it this way: I'm not much on horror thrillers to begin with because I think they all tend to be formulaic. What I will say is this one, when I went to see it, I wanted to support. Number one, I'm not going to make anybody. I wanted to support Jordan Peele. Also, it seemed like it had a theme that I'd never seen before in this manner. I mean, we had your Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and things like that, but a horror film like this, so I had to go see it for that. I would say I break a film down into 3 acts, which is typically how Hollywood views a film. Break it down into 3 sections. The first 2 sections, I was all in. It was all mystery, build up. I was just completely enraptured by what is going on here. There's a lot of weird things going on in this film. You see, there's a scene in the middle act where there's a party where all of these Tony, very waspy, elderly people come to the parents' house where the couple is staying for the weekend or whatnot. And they're being overly kind and nice. Hey, Chris, the main character, the black character is Chris. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Chris, you look great. How you doing, Chris? And you're wondering what is going on here. So great build-up, but in the final act, it kind of falls prey to the genre of the thriller where people jump scares, people that you think have been taken out, they all of a sudden find that hidden strength and come back to strike back again, and just kind of those cliches. Having said that, I think the overall themes of this movie are so good. And let me just say, I tip my hat to anyone who can move from genre to genre. We saw it with the Russo brothers, who directed the TV show Arrested Development, a comedy, and they went on to do Captain America: Winter Soldier, one of the best Marvel movies ever. You saw it with Stephen Merchant, who was a comedic actor, British comedic actor, who's in the new film Logan, the X-Men movie. He's doing a dramatic turn. You see it with Jordan Peele, who is known, of course, for Key and Peele, a comedic actor. And his direction in this film, no matter what I thought about the last act, his direction in this film is nearly flawless. He weaves his camera like he's been doing this for years. And I tip my hat to that brother. Anyone that can go from doing comedy, making me laugh, silly comedy, to crafting a movie like this, that's a talent right there. So I respect them for that, no matter what I think about the last act of that film.
Where do we go from here?
Like I said, I think we have to keep pushing. I think we have to, and this is the bigger mountain to climb, we have to, and I would say this about the black community in general. We want to be accepted, we want to be acknowledged, maybe that's a better word, by the mainstream, whether it's film, whether it's business, Silicon Valley, who knows, whatever. We're talking about film now, so we're going to stick to film. We want to be acknowledged. But I think we have to realize we have the means to develop our own infrastructure. You see it in India, in Bollywood. You see it in Nigeria, Nollywood. These are thriving film industries. We have to do that here, and we have to take advantage of the new technology that's out there. Again, online, YouTube, Vimeo. If we can get in the doors of HBO, like Issa did, that's where we have to go. In other words, we have to just keep on pushing, realize we are just as creative as the other guy, and not, I hate to say it, but not keep begging for scraps at the table. We have to create it ourselves. And we have the talent and we have the money. Our spending power is just as big as any other ethnic group in this country. So I think that's where we have to focus on.
And like you said, there are so many opportunities that we didn't have 20 or 30 years ago, so many avenues that, and you see so many, and we're gonna get ready to wrap it up, but you see so many Hollywood stars now heading to TV.
Oh, yeah.
Heading to all these places that you wouldn't have seen them in a million years.
Definitely.
You know,
Viola, on her days off, she's shooting, what's that show? How to Get Away with Murder, and she's getting away with murder.
Yeah, she's getting away with murder in a great
All the way
way.
to the bank, she's getting away with murder. Killing people on the way to the bank.
So in wrapping up, do you think in this coming year we're going to see some more films that explore different, because there's not just one aspect of art. We, just like everyone else, there are aspects, we live different aspects of life that can be explored through film.
I can tell you honestly, on another podcast that I do, a gentleman out of Chicago named Sergio Mims, he is part of an online blog called Shadow and Act. I highly recommend you check it out. We did a show, and he predicted that we're not going to see what we saw this year for another few years. That's why I'm saying, okay, so if I'm not getting that, I'm going to HBO. I'm going to check out Issa. I'm going to check out my man on Atlanta. What's your man's name? Childish Gambino is his rap name.
Yes.
Donald Glover. I'm gonna check him out. I'm gonna check out my man on Blackish.
All right. Well, we're gonna have to wrap it up, but it has been an absolute pleasure. You know, we could go on for 2 or 3 hours.
You know, I can talk.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
We've had the great Mike Jones, film critic, who's been talking to us about the Hollywood, Black Hollywood, where we've been and where we're going. You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day.
There we go. Okay.
Yes.
All right.